just like a tree planted by the water. We shall not be moved. No, no. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved by the water.
In honor of commencement, I'd like to share a few thoughts regarding the acknowledgement of Native and Indigenous spaces. A land acknowledgement is an important path and a first step to dismantling racial and colonized oppression within our spaces. Indigenous nations have always formally welcomed and acknowledged land territories when hosting visitors and when traveling to neighboring communities. The land is not just merely space that bodies occupy. It is a depository of culture, story, history, and tradition, and it is with these traditions in mind that we reflect and center ourselves and our thoughts toward respect. Please join us as we acknowledge and honor that the word Ohio comes from the Iroquoian word Ohio, for good rivers, and was a place of gathering and ceremony, trade and exchange, food growing, sharing, and story, and respect for culture. The Iroquoian, Siouan, and the Algonquin-speaking peoples are still here. We can never separate the people from the land, for this land longs for its people. We acknowledge the homeland of the Shawnee, Delaware, Potawatomi, Miami, Wyandot, Seneca, Chippewa, Ottawa, and the Wapakoneta. Over 39 historic nations and bands call this land home. Today we are gathered on the land that was unceded and stolen. I ask you to acknowledge these communities, their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations. We are committed to the process of working to dismantle the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism. We acknowledge that this place was founded upon exclusions and erasures of Indigenous knowledge about how to care for these lands. We are obligated to support and educate each other with accurate information about the true history of this land. Decolonization means that we will strive to be in service of the water and the rivers and the animals in relational solidarity with them. And as people now on this land, we must do what we can to provide nature and wildness with protection and defense. This land acknowledgement was authored by Shane Creeping Bear, Kiowa, in collaboration with Chief Ben Barnes of the Shawnee tribe, based in Miami, Oklahoma, whose people were forcibly removed from Ohio areas around Wapakoneta in 1831. Other contributors include Don Knickerbocker, Anishinaabe, Jerry Neri, Diné, and support from the Greater Cincinnati Native American Coalition.
Hello everyone, and good morning from the campus of Antioch College in Yellow Springs, Ohio, which, as you've heard, stands upon land that was taken illegally from peoples who have inhabited it centuries and millennia before the arrival of Europeans. I'm Tom Manley, Antioch College President Emeritus, and it is my privilege to welcome you to the ceremony for the graduates of the class of 2021. Graduates like you, I will be moving on after this academic year, finally graduating after 50 years in college. Hence the occasion to wear my academic finery, a non-traditional gesture here at Antioch, for the first time and last time here. These robes will spend at least the next 2 years, along with the rest of mine and my family's stuff, in storage while we relocate to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, with 2 dogs, a cat, and 2 suitcases each. In fact, inshallah, through the miracles of technology, I am watching this ceremony along with you, separated only by 12 time zones. True, it's already tomorrow where I am, but then someone has to go first. In January, I was smitten, as you may have been, with Amanda Gorman's performance of the inaugural poem for our country, The Hill We Climb. I could not do it justice to read it now, nor could I possibly beat that stunning red hat she wore. Yet it does seem to me to offer an appropriate theme for our college and for the accomplishments of these graduates, especially when she states, "So while once we asked, how could we possibly prevail over catastrophe? Now we assert, how could catastrophe possibly prevail over us?" But this day is anything but a catastrophe, though you, the graduates, have certainly prevailed. There are many, many people to acknowledge and thank this morning. As with last year's commencement, because we cannot clap our hands or snap our fingers and be together in person, in appreciation, please join me in placing a hand to the heart to show our gratitude throughout the ceremony, like this. Special appreciation goes to the commencement committee members who've worked conscientiously and creatively to bring this ceremony and all of us together. Kevin Magruder, Nancy Wilburn, Paige Babb, Allison Johns, Christine Reedy, April Wolford, David Atkins, Anita Brown, Mila Cooper, J.P. Robinson, Elise Peru, Roger Stappa, Mike Fair, and Donna Evans. Thank you all. I want to express my gratitude personally and on behalf of Antioch College to all who have made it possible for these students to claim this important part of their life's education. Loving parents, family, friends, and fellow students, dedicated and caring faculty and staff, inspiring and generous alumni, and committed trustee volunteers. In lieu of the applause you heartily deserve, we place our hands to our hearts to say thank you. To the small but mighty class of 2021, I offer our profound appreciation and admiration that through your passions, intellects, and your hearts, this vital day has become possible. You have owned your education. You have learned experientially. You have acted for justice. Your resumes of accomplishments, and soon you will have earned your college degrees. You have shown extraordinary perseverance, creativity, and focus to arrive at this moment. You have embodied resilience. You have demonstrated the capacity to endure bravely, and through you and your future gifts to the world, Antioch College will endure as well. Antioch is now in its 171st year as a work in progress. It continues to evolve, and what it must and will become is emergent. Like our individual and shared identities, like the universe to which we belong. Antioch is subject to our agency, but not the dictates of our will. The first college president, Horace Mann, an eloquent advocate of public and non-sectarian education, staunch abolitionist, proponent of the co-education of women, men, and people of color, saw in Antioch a chance for a college that had never been seen before. He came to Ohio from New England to build that college. And 5 years later, in delivering the commencement address, he charged Antioch's first graduates with the now famous words inscribed on the base of the monument to his honor. Be ashamed to die until you have won some victory for humanity. Be ashamed to die until you have won some victory for humanity. Thus, President Mann framed for that class and for all others that have come since an enduring purpose and a call to personal action. Today, we have translated those words into a more compact statement: act for justice. Now, as you know, there is a memorial to President Mann just off Main Lawn. There is also a large bronze statue of his likeness, complete with Greek robes, in the Glen Helen, that I understand will be relocated on the main campus in the near future. The flowing bronze robes notwithstanding, however, it's important to remember that President Mann was no more or less human than anyone then or now. He fought for education and acted for justice as he understood them. Although his understanding and practice was imperfect and flawed, something we can see through a clearer lens of history now, but at the time may have been clouded by prejudice and the egoic hubris of any human mind. Quote, "We cannot let our ideas blind us to our unknowing," unquote, writes the poet Jane Hirschfield. We cannot let our ideas blind us to our unknowing. Hirschfield was not known to Mann, but another poet more contemporaneous to him, William Blake, certainly must have been. His different words are echoed by Hirschfield's nearly 2 centuries later. Quote, None by traveling over known lands can find out the unknown. None by traveling over known lands can find out the unknown. It has been and continues to be a tumultuous time for humans and the spaceship Earth we ride upon together. Over this last year, we have dared to hope. This time will be different. We have dared to hope that those of us who have benefited from centuries of privilege, power, and wealth we or they did not labor to create originally will have the courage and the moral grace to choose the path of conscience over the way of expediency or excuse. Dr. King famously reminded us of Theodore Parker's idea that the arc of the moral universe is long, but that it bends towards justice. Horace Mann shared much in common with his contemporary, the Reverend Parker, in their fight for justice. But what makes this moment different is not a matter of time passing so much as it is a rising, forceful, irresistible wind, one driven by awareness that we must do something, that we must exercise our informed agency as humans, individually and collectively, to do something. to bend that arc. Class of 2021, as Antiochians, we are confident you will play your part in this most crucial endeavor. In you, we see all the hope and heart required to act in service to others, to act for justice. Hands to our hearts, we thank you and stand for and with you. Now it's my pleasure to introduce my friend, Dr. Mila Cooper, Vice President for Student Affairs, who will give the invocation.
Good afternoon. Once again, it is my great honor to participate in this special celebration. It's a joy to celebrate the class of 2021, the 7th graduating class of the Independent Antioch College. This has been a most challenging academic year as you have finished your last year in the middle of a global pandemic, but you made it. In my own faith practice, an invocation is an act of invoking the presence of God for protection, blessing, and guidance. We recognize here at Antioch and honor the different and various beliefs among us. So, as has been my tradition during commencement for the past several years, I offer a moment of reflection, still meant to invoke, to appeal, and to implore. First, I invite you to a moment of silence, perhaps in your own tradition, a prayer, meditation, contemplation, thinking about your Antioch experience, gratitude for your education and those who made it possible, contemplation of the injustice in our country and our world, soul searching about your responsibility to act for justice. You choose your thoughts in this moment. You are the 7th graduating class. Seven is a significant number. People are fascinated with the number of 7 for various reasons. 7 has been a noteworthy number in culture and religion. There are 7 wonders of the world. 7 is considered by some to be a lucky number, and in some areas to be magical. 7 is the most popular number. The number 7 is significant in almost every major religion, from Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, and Christianity. Biblical scholars have referred to the number 7 as the number of completion. So here we are, class of 2021, the 7th graduating class of Antioch College. You, like the number 7, are noteworthy. You are wonder. You are lucky. Others may call that fortunate or blessed. You are magical and significant. And today marks the completion of your Antiochian journey, at least as an undergraduate student. As you prepare to write your next chapter, I want to share a few excerpts from a poem entitled In This Place, an American Lyric by poet and activist Amanda Gorman. I encourage you to read the poem in its entirety when you have an opportunity. There's a poem in this place, in the footfalls, in the halls, in the quiet beat of the seats. It is here at the curtain of day where America writes a lyric you must whisper to say. There's a poem in Los Angeles, yawning wide as the Pacific tide, where a single mother swelters in a windowless classroom, teaching Black and brown students in Watts to spell out their thoughts so her daughter might write this poem for you. There's a lyric in California where thousands of students march for blocks, undocumented and unafraid, where Rosa finds the power to blossom in deadlock, her spirit the bedrock of her community. She knows hope is like a stubborn ship gripping a dock, a truth that you can't stop a dreamer or knock down a dream. How could this not be her city, Su Nacion, our country, our America, our American lyric to write, a poem by the people, the poor, the Protestant, the Muslim, the Jew, the native, the immigrant, the Black, the brown, the blind, the brave, the undocumented, and undeterred, the woman, the man, the non binary, the white, the trans, the ally, to all of the above and more. There's a poem in this place, a poem in America, a poet in every American who rewrites this nation, who tells a story worthy of being told on this minnow of an earth, to breathe hope into a palimpsest of time, a poet in every American who sees that our poem pen doesn't mean our poems end. There's a place where this poem dwells. It is here, it is now, in the yellow song of Dawn's bell, where we write an American lyric we are just beginning to tell. Class of 2021, 7th class, as you complete this chapter and begin to write your next poem, I hope your story will continue to be one of hope, love, joy, standing for justice, and winning victories for humanity. Ashe. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Maureen Lynch, the chair of the Board of Trustees of Antioch College.
Good afternoon. I'm Maureen Lynch, chair of the Antioch College Board of Trustees. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I bring greetings to all the people who are Antioch, students, faculty, staff, and alumni, and special joyful congratulations and greetings to the class of 2021. We also want to thank Chris Chavers, class of 21, for his outstanding service as the student representative trustee. Despite COVID and his own busy academic and work schedules, he was a conscientious and valuable trustee. We'll miss him. This is my last chance to speak at an Antioch commencement as board chair. Next year, a younger, smarter, and more nimble person, Shelby Chestnut, will speak to the class of 2022. So please make yourselves comfortable and settle in for my departing address. I have a few notes. But alas, the commencement committee has given me only a few minutes to speak. I will be brief. I really do have a notebook for every year I've served on the board. I take notes at most meetings and on long phone calls or Zoom calls to help me remember who said what and what action items belong to me. When each notebook is filled, I date it and put it in a file drawer. Have I ever opened that drawer and pulled out a notebook from a previous year? Maybe once or twice in 7 years. The notebooks have just become symbols and souvenirs of my years at Antioch, records of past times, markers of change. They were tools as I used them, but as I put them away, they became artifacts, no longer useful for what I'm doing today or tomorrow. Whatever I've learned from and about Antioch is in my head and in my bones. But you, on the other hand, in the early years of your adult lives, do have more useful tools that you are taking from your time at Antioch. You've forged those tools yourselves during the years you've been here. You already know what some of them are: experiences and knowledge you've gained in the classrooms, the dorms, the community, and in your co-op jobs. May I respectfully suggest that you also possess more secret tools of which you are not yet aware. These are the tools you will discover in the back pocket of your consciousness in years to come. Aha moments that will perhaps enable you to diffuse a dangerous situation or help a stranger who desperately needs just one moment of kindness, or see an important logical or social connection to which everyone else is blind. When these moments happen, and they will, please remember Antioch. Remember the hard times, the isolated pandemic times, the joy, the understandings and the misunderstandings, everything that happened here to you and because of you. So when you find those secret tools, those insights, those superpowers, please think of Antioch and feel a moment of joy. If we have done our job well, Antioch has changed you, and you, believe it or not, have changed Antioch. Thank you, and happy commencement.
Good morning. I'm Kevin Magruder, Vice President for Academic Affairs and Associate Professor of History. It is my pleasure to introduce two student speakers from the class of 2021 who will share their own reflections of their unique Antioch experiences. Our first speaker is Chris Chavers. A native of Trotwood, Ohio, he is graduating with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Social Justice Studies and Community Engagement. During his time at Antioch, Chris served as co-president of COMSL, founded and led the Antioch Black Student Union, and served as the student representative on the Antioch College Board of Trustees. The title of Chris's senior project is A Poet's Conversation in Black, and it is a poetry and prose project that critically, implicitly, and explicitly discusses the journey of Black identity within Western colonized society. Please welcome Chris Chavers.
Good afternoon. Peers, colleagues, community, family, and friends. I'm happy that we can virtually join together to celebrate and recognize this moment. Class of 2021. It's been a year, and I want to recognize what that is, and so, bear with me. But firstly, I'm going to recognize the year of 2021. That's a year spent fighting through a pandemic, while fighting against racism in the violent forms that it takes and took. Looking into each day with a new name to say. I cannot lift every name, but to every name that we lost, I honor in this space. While writing this speech, it took some time for me to wrap my mind around what this moment is for me, means to me, and possibly to some of you. I can't speak for all my fellow peers here, but I can say what I believe, which is this was hard work paid off. This was endurance and growth and strength and endless Zoom meetings with the camera off, of course. I'm sure many more intersections. This moment for me is a reflection. It's not just a reflection of papers or co-ops or the work that we've done. It's a reflection of where we come from and where we're at today. It's a reflection and acknowledgement of my ancestors before me whose blood, pain, and strives for Black liberation and freedom that's embodied and embedded into my very core. I'm aware of the barriers put before me as a Black trans man graduating from a predominantly white institution that endorses social justice but doesn't always live it out. A reflection of society. I know the doors that have tried to shut me out and the tables that took away my chair. But luckily, if anyone knows me here, knows I believe in breaking the table and kicking the door down anyways, which is something that my great aunt Sandy told me. I am the strength of my people before me. I'm a proud Black trans man who was born into a statistic that recommends I shouldn't be here. Fred Hampton once said, "You can kill a revolutionary, but you can't kill a revolution." I recognize these words as they hold truth of my existence. So I will share an action with you, class of 2021. We as people, Black people, we hold the core of the earth in our skin, the grain from our soil in our hair, the pride of the birds in our eyes. We are the first. We hold the truth. We create culture. We create and created life. My words aren't just meant to uplift Black people. They're meant to define value and expose change. Black liberation isn't the fleeing power complex that white supremacy has taught you. It's not the violence that they instilled in your minds. Black liberation isn't your villain. Black liberation disrupts, dismantles, displaces the power and oppression struggles that all marginalized communities face. Black liberation is the breaking of the chains of oppression as we know it. The future is Black liberation. Black liberation will free all oppressed people because we are the liberation. We are key. To believe anything else is foolish. So I hope this is the future communities all around, including these communities, commit to making. Class of 2021. I also hope that as we leave, we continue to strive if we have the tools to give to folks to apply those tools. And we give them and we share them and not shame them. Most importantly, I want to leave you all with the greatest lesson I've learned during this time of undergrad. It's still the most present and life-changing lesson. It's love. I need you all to commit to loving yourself and loving others. You cannot give love when one cannot receive it for themselves. Begin your healing process. Acknowledge those pains. Understand that loving yourself is the healing component of it all. You can't make change in the world with our classes half full. I walked into the school with pains and traumas, and not to say that it was healed or new ones didn't occur. My life continues. And as I grew, I learned that the key was with me. I had to love me. It sounds basic, loving ourselves. But in a society based on shaming our skin, looks, weight, sexuality, gender, and so much more, we're exposed to hating ourselves at such an early stage. But I'm here to say, please invest in you. It will not only better you, but it will help the connections and relations around you. With all that being said, self-love is a revolutionary act, or whatever Andre Lord said. Thank you to Antioch for the people I've met, because they have changed me. I've experienced so much here, good and bad, and I hold this institution accountable for both. And I want to take some time to acknowledge people that got me here, kept me here. I come from a long line of strong Black people to thank. I have a great grandmother who's turning 90 this month, and she's living proof of fight, will, grit, and courage. And I thank her. I have 5 young siblings: Khalees, Jelena, Tamia, Adrian, Natalie, who give me hope when sometimes I feel like it's lost, and strength to persevere. My siblings that I grew up with knew me before this whole world, and I wouldn't be who I am today without you. You all are my heart. I would give you all an individual speech of gratitude, but there's too damn many of y'all. You are equally my headaches, but I wouldn't trade you for anything in the world. I thank you. To my grandmothers who are still here, Grandma Gail, Grandma Melody, you both helped raise me, loved me when I needed it, instilled pride and humbleness, values that I can never thank you enough for. To my mother who sung Angel of Mines by Monica in my ears, cheered me on as I grew, taught me bravery, loved me, and gave me a very special gift, life. I thank you. To my father, thank you for always giving me space to be me and to never quit. True determination. I thank you. I also thank you to my whole family. Once again, there's way too many of you to thank. And a quick shout out to my older cousin Shayla. She's the one who inspired me to even want to go to school. And to my dedication, to the reason why I'm even here, my granny, who passed a little bit after my high school graduation. She is still my guidance. She's everything to me. And she taught me the greatest thing of all, which was unconditional love. No restrictions, no limitations. And I thank you. And this is for her. And to extended family, friends, and mentors I've made here. I will start off with the big one, which is Mila Cooper, Dr. Cooper. Thank you for everything. I didn't write anything down for your all's part. I can't really thank you enough for being family here when I needed it, for being a voice, for advocating, for pushing me when I needed the push. Um, you're family to me, and I thank you for everything that you do for students, that you do for Black people, that you do in the community. I'm honored to say that I know you. And to John Paul, thank you for always being an inspiration. Thank you for rooting me on when I needed it and taking me to the side to let me know if I needed to be checked. Thank you for being a fierceful, just someone to be reckoned with. And I learned a lot from you, and I thank you, and I love you both tremendously. I want to also thank plenty of students and staff and faculty, Kevin, Gary, and Shane. So many of you all really helped me along this way. And there's not enough thank yous to really go around here, but thank you. Thank you. And to my partner, who's been with me and has helped me tremendously in this time. I love you and thank you. So, class of 2021, I hope that we take these next chapters and we embark them, we embrace them, and we make a commitment to this world to make it a better place. It's a daily effort that you take and a change we have to seek and invest in. The words that we've written to our prompts, be ashamed to die until you win some victories for humanity. Those words mean that this work that we should be obligated to is forever. It doesn't stop. To the white institution that I attended, it is your duty every day to condemn white supremacy and your intersections and your privileges you withhold here. To my Black and brown indigenous peers, it's our duty to do our best by our community and share with what we can. This is what we share, I share with you. With that being said, I'm grateful for my next journey. I'm excited to get started. I'm excited for my peers' next journey. And for those journey who is still here, remember that this place is nothing without you. Congratulations, class of 2021. And I am out.
Our second speaker is Kinsey Michelle E. Zelaya Sabillon. A native of San Pedro Sula in Cortez, Honduras, she is graduating with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Global Political Economy and Social Psychology. At Antioch, she served as Spanish tutor, time management tutor, residential assistant, Miller Fellow with the 365 Project, volunteer with the Coretta Scott King Center, and student representative, alternate, and administrative assistant for COMSOL. Kinsey's senior project title is The Migration Crisis, Globalization, and the Destabilization of Central America. Please welcome Kinsey Zelaya Sabillon.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for joining us here today. My name is Kinsey Zelaya. I was born and raised in Honduras, and today I can proudly say that I'm a first-generation college graduate with a self-designed major in global political economy and social psychology. Today, I can't really find the right words to describe to you how happy, honored, and privileged I am to be before you all, and that after 4 years, I finally made it to the finish line. First, I would like to thank God because He's a way maker and a miracle worker. And without Him, I would have not been able to be here today. And the fact that I'm standing here today, it's also the fruit of my parents' hard work and resilience here in this country, because my dad always, haircut by haircut, always made sure that I never lacked anything at home, and my mom was always there to support me through the process. In that same way, I would also like to thank J.P. Robinson, Myla Cooper, and Kevin Magruder for providing me unconditional support and encouragement while I was at Antioch. I would also like to thank my academic advisor, Dean Snyder, for not only advising me, but for also pushing me even beyond my limits. And for believing in me so that I could do the best thing that I could at my education at Antioch. With all certainty, I can tell you today that I am living my dream. It is something that I've longed for ever since I was a kid, but that I thought it was going to be like impossible to achieve. In that same way, many people ask me why did I chose Antioch, but the truth is that Antioch chose me and gave me many reasons to stay. At Antioch, I was able to tailor my education and all my personal interests into a major in which I could transform the social justice and be a catalyst for change. And in that same way, at Antioch, I was just not a number in a classroom, but I was an individual with specific interests in which all of my classes were tailored into that specific interest that I had, and I was able to develop this. Regardless of that, I won't romanticize my experience at Antioch because it was difficult, but also so is life. So in this sense, Antioch was really special for me because Antioch didn't only equip me with the academic knowledge, but also I gained many experience for life as well. And during my first year, I wasn't sure about what my career path was going to be, but towards the end of my first year, I had an experience that marked my life at school, and it was either going to make me or break me. I decided that I was going to continue pushing against discrimination, but more than anything, I found my passion and my purpose in my professional career, which became to help the immigrant community and to be an advocate for social justice. At this moment, even despite my limitations, I found my purpose and developed my social cause at Antioch as much as I could. My experience at Antioch taught me that it is necessary to take up space, that many times voice isn't only going to be given to you, but that you gotta fight for it. And it is really important for you to do so because not only for yourself, but also all the voices of people that you're representing as well. And otherwise, change is just not going to happen on its own. In this way, Antioch served me as a platform for me to bring immigration social issues to the light of others and be an advocate for the immigrant community. Because many times, migrant bodies are being broken as we continue to receive fresh fruits, fresh vegetables in their tables without knowing if they're going to leave their home in the morning, but not knowing if they're going to safely return back to their families at night. So in this way, Antioch served to me as a platform to develop my leadership and to be an advocate. In my time at Antioch, as part of my student life, I had the privilege to help those around me. And I also had the privilege to represent Antioch at the GLCA conference. I was able to be in the student success department as a Spanish and as a time management tutor. I was also a residential assistant. I was part of council, and I was also a Miller Fellow, which allowed me to develop meaningful connections with the villagers in Yellow Springs. One aspect that was really important in my academic experience at Antioch was the co-op department. Because as an advocate, I was able to transfer all of the knowledge that I gathered in school and transfer it to the professional sphere. Through the co-op department, I was able to work in organizations that provided legal and social services to immigrants and refugees. So in this way, I decided to own the privilege of earning an education so I could be a catalyst of change to the world and change one person at a time. Just as Horace Mann said, be ashamed to die without winning a victory for humanity. In this same way, whatever is it that you do once you get your diploma, do it with intent and with a purpose. Do something with your education that is greater than yourself to help other people and to just change all of the daily injustices that we continue to see. So in today, I just want to encourage you and I want to tell you that nothing is impossible. Never let anybody tell you that you can't do anything. If you have that dream, go for it, make it a goal and do it. Because there's going to be people that are going to tell you that you're not quite that fit for that job, that you don't have the right qualifications to continue earning that degree. But let me tell you something. If you have that dream, then make it a goal and go for it. I'm not going to tell you that you won't have any obstacles, because obstacles are there. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to get where you need to get at the finish line. Because we are all here today. And other than that, today I just want to tell you that this is your time to make a difference. This is the time to go out there and to make changes. This is our time to be a catalyst for change in the world. So congratulations, class of 2021, and thank you all for joining me here today.
I am triply happy to introduce Dawn Knickerbocker as this year's commencement speaker. Triply, first, because of her accomplishments as an activist on so many critical frontline social justice issues. Second, owing to her work at Antioch College as a colleague in philanthropy. Thirdly, and perhaps least, because she is one of only a handful of people with whom I have attended a Dayton Dragons game. It was a school night, and she and her husband had their 4 sons with them. When the hour grew late, the score tight, her boys naturally begged to stay longer. And she said, yes. As I remember, the Dragons won, and while it may have been only a minor league game, it was, in my opinion, definitely a bit of major league managerial mom work. Dawn Knickerbocker belongs to the Anishinaabe people, is a citizen of the White Earth Nation, enrolled member of the Minnesota Chippewa tribe, the Otter-tailed Pillager Band of Indians. Dawn is an activist, advocate, organizational strategist, land and water defender, and a leader in the philanthropic sector. She believes peace is an achievable goal within our lifetimes through deeply connected and authentic relationships with the land and the people. Having spent over 20 years of her work life as a grassroots organizer on the front lines of some of the most critical battles for comprehensive equity and the elimination of institutionalized oppression, she serves now as the president of the Greater Cincinnati Native American Coalition and as co-founder of Warren, Ohio, and Yellow Springs Climate Action. Dawn has spent the majority of her career working in nonprofit leadership and the practice of reciprocity within philanthropy. She worked as a grant maker in Washington State when she designed and implemented the Spokane Arts Grants Awards, SAGA, that serves over 1 million people today. Dawn recently worked as the director of foundation relations at Antioch College and now works full-time for Native Americans in Philanthropy, which serves all of Indian country on cultural and tribal issues. Dawn is the former elected chair of the Advisory Commission on Diversity for the most diverse city in the state of Washington, Renton. She is a published nonfiction writer, a poet, a public speaker, a columnist at the Yellow Springs News, Little Thunders, and the 2020 Martin Luther King Drum Major for Justice Award recipient. Dawn holds a bachelor's degree in organizational management from Whitworth University, completed graduate work in social impact from Claremont Lincoln University, and a master's in arts and human rights practice from the University of Arizona. Her latest anthology is titled Navigating the Pandemic, Stories of Hope and Resilience. Dawn resides in Yellow Springs, Ohio with her husband, 4 sons, and 49 houseplants. She is, I hope, a Dayton Dragons fan still. My friends, I give you Dawn Knickerbocker.
Buzu, Ani, Dan Indigenous, Gawaba Beganakag. Greetings and hello, my friends. My name is Dawn Knickerbocker. I belong to the Anishinaabe people from White Earth Nation, called Gawaba Beganakag in my language. I'm an enrolled member of the Minnesota Chippewa tribe from the Otter-tailed Pillager Band of Indians, and I live here in Yellow Springs on the traditional homelands of the Shawnee and the Miami people. I want us to center ourselves and acknowledge and hold accountable our ancestors, our knowledge keepers, including those who now occupy the land, and our non-human kin. We acknowledge ancestors who came before us and youth who will keep going and sharing the knowledge for generations to come. I am so honored to be here with you as you transition into new spaces, taking on new roles, and joining new communities. This renewal process for you probably seems like it's a long time coming. This has been the longest year in my own lifetime, and I'm sure you feel the same way. I'm here today, and I agreed to speak with you for a few reasons. First, I care deeply about you. I am picturing your faces right now, and I am in awe of you. As people who have dedicated the past 4 years of your life in the pursuit of learning, not just of information, I know Antioch. You were there learning and questioning, thinking about how to learn, what to know, and why, and how you will put your understandings to use. You will make the big sacrifices, and you will build a fire within you, and you will maintain it. As Horace Mann said in his famous Antiochian quote, where he said this at a commencement speech on Antioch College campus, "Be ashamed to die until you have won some victory for humanity." And he said that in the same year that he took his journey home, meaning he collapsed and he died, and that was in 1859. And he is buried there on the land of the Shawnee, in the earth that Antioch calls home. But 50 years before Horace Mann delivered that speech, another famous person said something really similar. Perhaps it inspired Horace Mann. In 1810, Chief of the Shawnee, Tecumseh, said, "So live your life that the fear of death can never enter your heart. Trouble no one about their religion, respect others in their view, demand they respect yours. Love your life, perfect your life, beautifully, all things in your life. Seek to make your life as long and as purposeful in the service of your people. Prepare a noble death song for the day when you go over the great divide. Always give a word or a sign of salute when meeting or passing a friend, or even a stranger when in a lonely place. If you see no reason for giving thanks, the fault lies only in yourself. Abuse no one for no thing, for those turns the wise ones to fools and robs the spirit of its vision. When it comes to your time to die, be not like those whose hearts are filled with fear of death, so that when their time comes, they weep and pray for a little more time to live their lives over in a different way. Sing your death song and die like a hero going home." For me, both of these remind me that we are not here to be separate or isolated like we are conditioned. We're conditioned to isolate ourselves from our intuition, from our voice, from our bodies, from our loved ones. We need connection. We need each other, and we need a purpose. And I distinctly remember after graduating from college myself, this kind of feeling of mixed sadness and a little bit of fear. And I felt this way because I'd suddenly realized that the people that I'd looked up to in academics who had taken those 4 years to earn their degree, now I have that knowledge. But what I learned about myself is that I didn't know much at all. I learned that the people in charge, they're not done. They're not done learning. And over a course of a lifetime, the project of education, the promise of education, has left so many of us unfulfilled and disembodied. In this time of our lives, right now, of the online experience in education, we've had to entrust digital screens to deliver the tenderness and the warmth and the connection we've been denied. And sometimes this connection has been denied our whole lifetimes. And yet, in spite of the overwhelming machine of education, there still remains this deep desire for union and intimacy within us. It is this immutable desire which will help bring us back to the earth, to all living creatures and to each other. There is no doubt that this reunion will be difficult and messy given our estrangement from each other. And so I offer you, graduates of Antioch College, advice grounded in my own Anishinaabe teachings as a way forward in all four directions. So we'll begin with the East. The East is the direction of beginnings, and the teachings of the East remind us that all life is spirit. The wind, the earth, the fire, the water, all of those things are alive with energy and movement. It is the direction that the sun rises. It is the first light of dawn. It is the new beginning for each of you. And for any one of you who will be heading east from your spot at Antioch, for your journey to the next phase, know these things. And I offer you this medicine and this teaching of the East. For the North, this is the direction that reminds us to slow down and rest. This is also the direction that represents your most difficult teachers. You know who you are. The elders, the pipe carriers, the lodge keepers, they all reside in the North. Their teachings help us to embrace all aspects of our beings, especially our physical body, so we can feel and experience the fullness of life. So if you are heading north from here, I offer you that medicine. West. West is the direction of the setting sun. There are many little deaths that end the things that need to be gone from our lives. And we recognize that old thoughts and old feelings, they need to die. And new ones can emerge. Our hearts also represent the West. New loves, new passions. For those of you who are heading west, I offer you this medicine. South. South is the direction of release. The birds, they migrate south for winter. It is fire and creativity in the South. It is the tale of two snakes making a spiral and eternal transformation. South represents growing up. You can no longer be that child going south. You shed your skin and you are transitioning into adulthood. You will find balance if you head south. For those of you heading south, I offer you this medicine. So those are the four directions. But for you, Antioch, I offer one more, and that is the direction of center. And that represents that fire within you, your responsibility of maintaining that fire. So my advice, knowing that you will never be done, you will always have the job of learning, of educating yourself, of connecting to what is real. In your lifetime, go as far as you can in all directions and sing a death song and die like a hero going home. Miigwech.
President Manley, it is my great honor to present you with the candidates for the degrees of Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science from Antioch College.
Candidates for the Bachelor of Arts degree. Chris Chavers, self-design major, social justice studies, and community engagement, magna cum laude. Noah J. Evans, self-design major, environmental philosophy, ecological resilience, and practicable sustainability. Summa cum laude. Connor Taylor Jameson, self-design major, writing and performance. Sarah Christine Mills, self-design major, observing nature through the visual arts. Vespierre Oaks, self-design major, philosophy, health, and care. Global transnational engagement focus. Jonas Robin, self-design major, U.S. foreign policy and the political economy of media. Cum laude. Amanda Lorraine Siegel, self-design major, storytelling and healing, African cosmogenetic roots of religion and spirituality, ancestry, matriarchy, and memoir. Galen Shoemaker, self-design major, the philosophy of psychology. Quillen Stocker, self-design major, young adult fiction in many forms. Kenzie Michelle Emily Zelaya Sabion, self-design major, global political economy and social psychology, global transnational engagement focus, summa cum laude. Candidates for the Bachelor of Science degree. Morgan Michelle Hayslip, self-design major, microbiology and genetics, magna cum laude. Ren Inslee McCall, self-design major, agricultural ecology and the politics of environmental resilience, cum laude. parents, family, friends, faculty, alumni, members of the community, please join me in congratulating the class of 2021. Congratulations. Now, please join me in welcoming Karen Mohauser, President of the Antioch College Alumni Board.
Hello, and congratulations, Antioch class of 2021. You're graduating, and I am here to welcome you to the Antioch College Alumni Association. I'm Karen Mulhauser, the class of 1965, and currently the president of the Antioch College Alumni Association. No, you do not have to pay dues by the end of graduation in order to be a member of the Alumni Association, but being an alum instead of a student makes this day incredibly significant. It is a significant transition, a new beginning, and that's why we call it commencement. Actually, coming to Antioch College was a commencement as well, a start of a whole new way of imagining your future. Today, I want you to know that the embrace of the Antioch community continues as you move to the next chapter of your life. As I've been preparing remarks for your commencement, I have been reflecting on my own commencement, or new beginning, back in 1965. Martin Luther King was my graduation speaker, and he inspired us to leave campus and help make the world a more civil and peaceful place. In the years since all Antiochians graduate, we alums have benefited by carrying around that credo to be ashamed to die until we win a victory for humanity. We do not all get rich doing that, but we do have full and rich lives. Back on my graduation day, we were aware of several racial divides and of the injustices that women experience in our country. But we also were aware of the potential for change and the resilience of our democracy. The passage of the Civil Rights Act, the mobilization expanded for women's rights and civil rights throughout the country, and here in Yellow Springs, Ohio, as we demonstrated for civil rights, including to desegregate Gegner's barbershop that refused to cut the hair of Black people. So much has changed in the many years between my graduation and yours, but also so much is the same. On the negative side of that statement, in the last few years, it is as though many who were angered by the advancement of civil rights and racial and social justice now behave as though they have the license to be racist, sexist, homophobic, Islamophobic, and more. However, on the positive side of that statement, that so much is the same since I graduated from this fine college, millions have been reminded that we cannot take our democracy for granted and that we, the people, must work for liberties and social justice. We've already seen record numbers of women and people of color win elections, and down the road, they will win some victories for humanity, and they will prove that our democracy is indeed resilient. I have spent most of my years since graduating from Antioch College involved with efforts to secure our democracy through policy and politics. It is so very clear to me that if we do not like the policies that are being made, we must change the policymakers. This is something that I learned at Antioch College, and some suggest that I have never really left Antioch. Since graduating, I have served on the alumni board for several years, and now I'm the chair again for a few more months. I chaired the Alumni Association in the 1980s, and after that, I was deeply involved in trying to prevent Antioch College from closing, and then I helped it to reopen. I love Antioch. It clearly helped to shape who I am today. I care deeply about Antioch because I received the best possible education that I needed to get me started on the rest of my life, my commencement. You probably cannot imagine the impact on your lives and may not until you have experienced decades after your graduation. I sincerely wish we could be doing this in person. I'm sure you do as well, and so do your family and friends. But virtual is better than not at all. And hopefully we are getting beyond the pandemic and will save the hugs for another day. maybe at an upcoming reunion. I know some of you and I would love to see you. I'm pleased to be able to tell you that you can attend your first reunion as an alum in October of this year. Yes, it too will be virtual, but it will be good to see you again. Thank you very much for this chance to be with you on your special day as I welcome you to the Alumni Association. The U.S. and the world need the victories for humanity that you are planning to win. Best of luck, and I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.
Tom, on behalf of the Antioch College Board of Trustees, congratulations on your own personal commencement. You began your term as president of the college in March of 2016, and today, more than 5 years later, you are retiring and also graduating into whatever adventures the future holds. For your commencement, we have chosen to honor you with this proclamation recognizing your outstanding service as our 26th president and affirming your title of President Emeritus of Antioch College. Among other things, the proclamation cites your guidance of the FACT process, which produced a collaborative vision for a college of action in which students own their education, learn experientially, and act for justice. We also honor you for championing the Antioch College Works program, for increasing diversity in the administration, and for working with the college community and the Board of Trustees to strengthen shared governance, social justice, and educational equality. We wish you good fortune and exciting experiences as you leave the college. And personally, I want to thank you for your collegiality, your generosity, and your unshakable belief in the absolute necessity of Antioch College. Bon voyage.
Thank you, Maureen. Thank you very much, Maureen, trustees, members of the community. It's been a true honor to be part of, a small part even, of the Antioch College story. So thank you. I'll treasure this. And now back to our commencement ceremony. The tradition at Antioch College for many years has been for the new graduates to recess to a small mound adjacent to main building and not far from where I'm standing now. It has been our new practice these past 2 years, in respect for the indigenous people whose lands we occupy here, to circle rather than traverse those mounds, that mound, while observing the points of the compass. Our virtual ceremony will observe this practice again, and after my closing remarks, I invite you to travel with us via video, accompanied by the World House Choir, to the mound where we will conclude today's ceremony. At the outset, I quoted the phrase from President Horace Mann, well known to our students: "Be ashamed to die until you have won some victory for humanity." But now I want to emphasize the few words that preface the idea of winning victories for humanity, because they hold, I think, the key and the real poetry of the idea. Man says, "I beseech you to treasure up in your hearts these my parting words." First, I note, "I beseech you" is a plea rather than a command. And treasure up in your hearts is a lovely way of saying, hold dear to who you are and will always be. That is the center of us, not in our heads, those brain-filled powerhouse thinking machines that have no off switches, but in your hearts. The heart, that often overlooked, underrated, and underutilized miracle of our bodies and of our universe, our hearts. The beating, living thing over which we place our hands to swear and promise and show our sincerity of intention and to show our love. So before you set out to win victories or take the burden of shame for failing to do so, consult your heart. It is far bigger and fuller of wisdom than you might imagine. But like any muscle, you have to use it. Allow your hearts to open to the world and to yourselves. Class of 2021, our hearts and our love go with you. And now, my friends, peace to you all. Let's congratulate and appreciate one final time today the class of 2021. Now, please join us for the recessional and the remarkable World House Choir led by Dr. Kathy Roma.
Hope and change be our goal. Love and peace and justice and truth. Marching with families, with our elders, with our youth. Building a beloved community. Diversity is strength. There is power in our unity. Color, gender, ethnicity. We respect them all with sanity. A part of our humanity. Sisterhood, brotherhood, personhood. Marching our feet up the street through the neighborhood. Marching in step, showing support for the common good. Come, feel our vitality. Come be a witness. Joining our universality. Make your mission the human condition you see. When all people stand together.